Scarlet Park, Bubba Sparks.
Booty, 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 rockin' everywhere. Booty, booty.
Short. Hey, I don't know what to do.
I tell you guys, her hematoma was right here, which is the worst part. It was like a whole entire hump, on her arm, and I was literally looking like,
What did you do?
what's up YouTube, it's Desi and I'm back with another video, y'all. So in this video I'm going to talk about what's the worst I done seen with my whole entire time as being a phlebotomist. So if you guys may know, if you refer back to my other videos, I'll make sure I leave them in the description box for you guys. But however, I used to work at a plasma center as a phlebotomist, and I always do my experience as far as for that, and I always leave like videos as far as for that. But this video was highly requested. A lot of people want to know as far as for what's the worst I done seen in the field, and as far as for how can I learn from what I done seen, and just what exactly goes on. So I figured this video will be able to help you guys out. The main thing that I could say I've done seen is 4 different things. 1 is a seizure on the bed while the needle is in the arm. 2 is going to be the hematoma as big as a bagel. 3 is going to be patients bleeds out, and I'll be sure to explain more on that. Number 4 is going to be patient throws up due to dehydration. Alright, so let's get right into it. So with phlebotomy, basically phlebotomy is going to be where you go to get your blood draw. Wherever you go into the healthcare field, whenever you see someone with the tight rubber band around their arm, which is a tourniquet, and they're getting their blood draw either in this area or this area, that's a phlebotomist. So basically, phlebotomist usually works around like in the morning time, usually like around like a 7 to 5 type of shift. They usually work on weekends sometimes too, but yeah, that's pretty much what a phlebotomist does. So at a plasma center, we pretty much have the same thing going on for a phlebotomist. We're constantly sticking donors in and out, making sure that it's a good successful stick. They're able to donate plasma, they get paid for it, and that's how it goes. Now at a plasma center, you're going to see so much more than you would see at a hospital setting or a separate clinic setting for a phlebotomist. What I mean by that, meaning as in it's so much that you're going to see where it's like you never just know, like it's always something new going on. Okay, so first thing to start off with would be the seizure. So basically one time when I was working at BPL Plasma, it was one of the patients, like, so basically one of the donors, she was basically on the bed, and out of nowhere it was like she just started shaking. And you know, one thing about us with being a phlebotomist, you have to make sure that you observe each zone. So basically everybody was kind of like in their own little area, and we just happened to see her shaking out of nowhere. So first things first, keep in mind the needle was in her arm. So the first things first, the senior phlebotomist, at the time it was a guy named John. He was basically like trying to make sure he like get some type of response from her. Like he was like, ma'am, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Like tapping her and whatnot. And she was still like, you know, acting so shocked or whatnot. He was like, are you able to hear me? Can you see me? And we immediately went to go get her some Gatorade and crackers, because usually for most people that's either dehydrated or anything like that at the plasma center, there's always snacks in the back to kind of like make sure that you have a successful draw. They give you plenty of Gatorade, and then they make sure that they give you like some type of crackers or something, just something light. The crazy part about it was when she woke up, she acted as if nothing really happened. But what I mean with a plasma center, you never know what you're going to get, because you never know what patients, or shall I say donors, do before they donate. Some people like to sometimes get high, some people like to sometimes smoke a cigarette or something like that, and it may lead to different things. But that particular day, that was like one of the most scariest things I've seen at the plasma center, because it's like, wow, like she had a whole entire seizure, and it's like she literally woke up as if nothing happened. And on top of that, it was very difficult because it was like the needle was in her arm. So you know, when you see those type of things, it's like your first reaction, you're like, but then in reality you need to really know exactly what to do. So that was definitely one of the crazy ones, I would say. So before you donate plasma or anything like that, please don't do nothing silly, because when you get out on the floor and the needle is already in your arm, we have to make sure we get a response first before trying to disconnect any type of thing for you, depending on the position that you are in. The second thing would be the hematoma as big as a bagel. So I've seen so many hematomas working at a plasma center. The whole point of the hematoma is because a lot of patients are pumping when the cuff is tight. So when the cuff is tight, you're not supposed to pump. When the cuff is loose, that's when you then start to pump. So basically, yeah, one of the patients, she just kept pumping the whole entire time. And I guess when you start pumping, I haven't worked at the plasma center in a while, but I think it's when you pump, you're basically pumping something back into your body or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, the blood flow or something like that. When I tell you guys, her hematoma was right here, which is the worst part. It was like a whole entire hump, on her arm. And I was literally looking like, what did you do? And you could tell when it's a hematoma, one, because, well, you think about it, this is a flat surface, and then when you look the second time, it's like a hill. That's pretty different. But not only that, a hematoma is really hard. It's really hard, and the color starts to change and whatnot. And the crazy part about it is, whenever you're working at a plasma center, you want to make sure you observe everything, because your station could be way over here and you have a patient that's way on the other side that has a hematoma, like, hey, I need help or something like that. You want to make sure that you have the certain surroundings to try to pick up on those things and be able to react real quickly. But the hematomas, I got so used to seeing those because a lot of the patients, they never really listened like that whenever it came to donating plasma. But it's really disgusting to look at. Like, nobody wants to keep seeing a big old bump on someone's arm, like, and then when the color starts to change, it's really nasty. So do expect to see that when you're working at a plasma center. So the third one is going to be patient bleeds out. Now this happened one time with one of my donors, so that's why this was one of the scariest things. When I first started sticking, like, at the plasma center, I had to get used to everything. And one thing about when you stick a donor, you want to have at least these things called stats. So the ones that we were using at BPO, they were like a navy blue looking color, royal blue, whatever you want to call it. So basically the stats is what kind of, like, you know, stop the line. So basically whenever you're about to disconnect a donor, you will have to stat the plasma line, and you got to stat the AC line. You know, you got to stat a lot of stuff before disconnecting everything. So it was my first time kind of being by myself, getting in the feel of, like, phlebotomy. And I just remember I was disconnecting one of the donors and I forgot to stat one of the lines, and when I didn't stat it, it was like I pulled something, and then she just started bleeding out of nowhere. And it really freaked me out because it was like I felt like I wasn't doing anything right, and she was very calm. But then when I finally got a hold of, like, one of the stats, I was able to stop the line, but she was just so confused as far as for what had happened. So it's easy to have a patient bleed out if you don't have all the right equipment. So before disconnecting a donor, when you're at a plasma center, you want to make sure you have, like, plenty of stats on hand for you. You don't want to at least have, like, 2 stats, and then when you go disconnect someone, you're like, oh man, I forgot I had a stat or something. And you can't just tell a donor, like, hold on, wait right here while I go get that. You can't do that. So try to have those type of information. Try to have those type of items available with you, so you won't have to be going this way and this way. And on top of that, that way the patient won't bleed out. But however, it has been times where, say for instance, we'll wrap up the patient, and as they're leaving from the plasma center, they come back and they're leaking blood because they, you know, sometimes they bleed out and the gauze is either not on too tight, or the say for instance, as you put the gauze right here and you get the wrapping the adhesive tape around it, this part can start moving and shifting over. So it's kind of like it wasn't covering the whole entire time. So those are one of the scariest things I've seen too. Like, I'm so used to seeing blood now, because it's like, well, throughout my whole entire medical assistant experience, or even with medical in general, you're going to see blood. So that really doesn't bother me like that anymore. And the last one I seen is a patient throwing up. Now, you see people throw up on average, but the way how he was looking really freaked me out. So, like, one thing about it, before you donate, always make sure that you eat something, you have something in your stomach. What led him to do that is because he didn't really too much eat anything when he was donating plasma, and he just got really hot. He was wearing a hoodie at the time, but it was just like when he threw up, it like it flew, like, it was crazy. And at the same time, it's like you just want to make sure that you have those type of things out the way before donating plasma, because you just never know what can happen. But for the most part, like I said, I think out of all the ones I named for you guys, the one up with the seizure, she kind of freaked me out. Like I said, you just want to make sure you have everything set aside before going out there to donate plasma. On top of that, with you being a phlebotomist, you want to make sure that you pick up on these things, so that way you know exactly what to do the next time something like that happens. So hopefully this video will be able to help you guys out, and I hope everybody stays safe through the COVID-19. Peace, y'all.